Welcome to Code with Richard, and this episode is simple savings. The idea here is that let's say we want to save money, and every month we deposit some amount of money into an account, and the money that we put into this account is earning some amount of interest. We're not going to worry where that interest comes from, but what we want to do is we want to calculate that over time by adding money into this account and accruing some amount of interest, how much money are we going to project to have over some number of months. And to do this, we're going to get more practice using loops, and we're also going to use a little bit of math. So let's get started. So we'll start with our familiar setup with the command prompt on the left so we can execute our code, and just Notepad on the right. So let's start off by making a few variables, and we'll just start off with a balance. This is our bank balance or account balance, and we'll just start off with 0. And let's keep track of how much we've deposited total, because this will be interesting to see. And we'll also keep track of our interest. And again, it doesn't have to be interest. It could be some other kind of income, such as dividends, but we'll just call it interest for now. And since we know that interest is generally pretty low, we are going to look at projection over years, and let's just start off with 10 years, and let's calculate our interest and make deposits every month. So we will have a variable for a number of months, and we'll just say this is 12 times the years. And now let's create another variable called monthly deposit, and this will be how much money we're going to deposit every month. And we'll say $100 every month. And let's create an interest rate. And I'm just going to say 7 for 7%. And we're going to assume that we can invest our money and get back, on average, 7%. But we can put whatever money we have here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create a for loop, because we need to do some calculations for many, many months. And we know that loops are good for doing some operation many, many times. So I'll put a comment here. Remember that the pound symbol in the beginning is just a comment. That's just for the user, whoever is coding, and this line will actually be ignored. And we'll create a loop, and the variable we're going to use is month, and we're going to use the familiar range we've used before. And let's go ahead and copy number of months here, and we'll just place that here. And as we know, number of months is some number, but the range will create a range of numbers from 0 to the number of months minus 1. And that's okay, because we just want the loop to execute number of months times. And we'll go into the loop, for loop, and remember we need to create indentation here to indicate that the code we want to write belongs to this for loop. So the first thing we want to do is calculate interest from previous months, or from the existing balance. So I can call this interest earned. Interest earned. I'll say whatever balance I have. And I'm going to make this very, very simple. It's not exactly how interest is created. So we'll just say, we'll just take our interest rate here. We'll divide it by 100 to make some percentage. So we know our interest rate is 7, divided by 100, so it's 0.07. And we'll divide it by 12. So every month, we'll just accrue 1/12 of our interest rate. And now we can add our interest. Okay, add interest and monthly deposit to total balance. And again, this comment is just for clarity, and it's for the user to come back and realize, to get hints on what is going on. And maybe you don't need a comment, and that's fine too. We have our balance, and what I'm going to do is the new balance, which is on the left, is equal to the old balance, and we're going to add whatever interest we earn this month. And we're also going to add the monthly deposit. And also, I'm going to keep track of how much total money has been deposited. And you can see here that this plus equals is a new operation, and this just is equivalent to deposit total equals deposit total plus monthly deposit. So if you notice up here, we say balance equals balance plus other numbers. If we don't want to have, say, balance equals balance itself, we could have said balance plus equals and put these operators. And let's also keep track of the interest total as well. And so we can say our interest total is our interest earned. And let's see, where did my cursor go? And every month, let's just print out a message so we know what our running totals are. So we'll say, we'll keep track of what month we're in, and we'll just put +1 because we know from range it goes from 0 to the number of months -1. So to make it more human readable, we'll say month +1. So the first month will be 1, and we'll just say our balance equals our balance here. And let's go ahead and run this. And you can see, as expected, it prints out a whole bunch of months. So end of month 1, we start off with just 100 because we didn't accrue any interest, but we deposited 100. And as we scroll down, we can see that every month our balance is increasing. You might say, well, what do we do with this deposit total and this interest total? And let's go ahead and print that as well. And so in this particular case, I'm going to print it at the very end. And so what this does is, that means it's not included in this for loop because I don't want to print the total for every single month. Let's just wait until the very end and then print. So let's say total deposited equals, and we can put a dollar sign to make it look a little bit better. And we can say deposit underscore total. And actually, we need quotes in the parentheses. And I'm going to just copy and paste this line so I can change this to total interest. And also, I'm going to copy the interest total. And actually, this work super easy, but I will modify that. Okay, so let's go back and run this one more time. And you can see it ran again, and it told us that after 120 months, so 10 years, we deposited $12,000, and at this particular interest rate, we got $5,300 in interest. And another thing we can do is think, oh, well, what if we want to look past 10 years? Maybe I want to say 40 years. What will this look like? And we can run it, and we see that after 40 years, we deposited $48,000, and we made $214,000 in interest. One thing that we can do to improve this is to make it a little bit more human readable. So as you notice, the total deposited is a nice even 48,000, but the total interest has all these decimal places behind it. And the reason why is because the way that math works is that since I'm multiplying my balance by a decimal, it's called floating point number, it actually does a calculation with the best precision that it can. And so these are called floating point numbers. And just one thing to note is a floating point number they are not exact. So it is, in some cases, it can display an exact number, but other times it does some rounding internally. Well, let's say I don't care about to be too exact. So one thing I can do is let's just get rid of those decimal places. So I can import the math module for this. And one of the things that I can do is I can use the floor operation. So reminder, a floor operation just rounds down. So this 200 and 58 cents, we'll just round down to 200. And for our case, it's probably good enough. And we're not trying to do very specific calculations, but just to get an idea of how this works. So I can go back down here as well and say math.floor and put this around my deposit total. Actually, I don't need that because it's an even 48,000, but it's here anyways. And this just calls the floor method on the math module, and the input is this interest total. And we'll see what the output is. We run it again, and we notice that the total interest that it calculates is a nice even number, but the monthly balance is still a decimal, so we can go up here and we can reassign balance. So we can say my balance equals math.floor of my balance. And so at first glance, this might look a little bit weird because balance is on both sides, but basically this says the new value, balance on the left, equals the floor of the old balance. And so when I run it over here, we can see that now the balance has a nice look to it. Another thing we can make to improve it is to put a dollar sign right here. When we run it again, we see dollar sign right here. Of course, if we wanted to, we could just round the number instead of take the floor. But in this case, I'm just showing you how to do the floor for simplicity's sake. So this is great and all, but what else can we do with this? Because this is exactly the type of calculation we can do in a simple spreadsheet. Well, there's some interesting things we might be able to do. One question we can answer is well, how long would it take me with starting with 0 and the certain deposit and interest rate for me to earn as much interest as I deposited? And we can actually add some logic in here to make that determination. And what I can do is put it in my loop. Basically, to answer that question, if my monthly deposit is less than or equal to my interest earned, then that's maybe an interesting month that I want to get. And so I can just put that into code. So I said if my monthly deposit is less than or equal to my interest earned, then this is kind of interesting. So let's print a message here. So I'll say my monthly deposit is, and I'll say my monthly deposit right here. And let's do the same for my interest earned. So I'm going to copy and paste this line. And so I'll say my interest earned. And to make it, I'm going to add a space here so these are lined up. Interest earned. And I can print that out. And if I run it, well, we can see, oh, wow, well, at first there is a typo right there, so I guess I don't need a space. But we notice that it prints monthly deposit is 100 many times, and it prints the interest earned many times. So what we could do is, well, if we just want to stop at the month that happens, is we can add something called a break. Or not breaks, just a single break. Let's clear this and run it one more time. And so basically what happened in this particular case is it's going through this for loop. But if this condition is true, if my monthly deposit is less than or equal to my interest earned, so in this case my interest is just higher than my monthly deposit, I'm going to print out this message, my monthly deposit, interest earned, and it's also going to break. If you have a break in the for loop, it basically just says, this is my last time through, I want to stop. And that's exactly what we wanted, because we wanted to determine, well, how many months does it take for my interest to be equal or greater to my monthly deposit? And that's how we figured this out. Thank you so much for joining today's episode of Code with Richard of Simple Savings. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section in this video. See you next time. Thanks.